Yo, what's going on? It's me, Mildew here, and I wanted to start talking about Grand Theft Auto 6. Yes, GTA. I've had some thoughts about the game, and I'm really excited for the game to come out in November. And I just wanted to document some of my thoughts that I have on here. And the first thing I want to talk about has to do with the story of GTA 6. And after looking at both the trailers, there's something in them that I feel like not too many people are really talking about, and it has to do with a possible change in how Rockstar is going to tell their story in Grand Theft Auto 6. And it starts with the scene here in this room with this cop guy here. Now, a lot of people brought up that this scene seems pretty interesting because neither of the main characters seem to be visible here, unless one of these guys here, or Jason, or one of our protagonists, are somewhere else in the room. Which, if that was the case, would be interesting because that would imply that one of our protagonists are working with the police, at least to some extent. And now, if neither of our protagonists are featured in this scene, then that would be fascinating because Rockstar have never really featured scenes that the protagonists of the game weren't a part of or featured in some way. And this is something that I've seen many people bring up. Now, unless it's a scenario where either Jason and or Lucia are maybe spying on these cops from another location, or maybe outside this room or building in some way, something that I would say is kind of adjacent to what I'm talking about that we've seen in a previous Rockstar title is in GTA 5 when we're playing as Trevor and we arrive to the Del Perro Pier to take out Steve Haynes, and while we're on the pier, we can toggle to see the perspective of the camera recording Steve Haynes on the Ferris wheel. You know, we don't see Trevor in the shot there, and maybe there are some better examples, but I can't really think of one right now. But something I haven't really seen people talk about that might give further evidence that Rockstar is taking a different approach to their storytelling in Grand Theft Auto 6. And how they might feature scenes that either won't feature Jason or Lucia, or feature scenes that don't directly connect to gameplay. Now, what do I mean by that, right? So, well, now I want to transition to talking about the screenshots and scenes that involve Lucia being in prison, right? So, in my head, when I first see Lucia in prison, using the same Rockstar logic of Rockstar only having scenes that feature the protagonist that you play as, I naturally think that, oh, you'll be able to play in prison as Lucia. And maybe that'll be some kind of tutorial like setting, or maybe we have some time jumps or a flashback type deal, which even then, talking about flashbacks, I can't think of a time Rockstar has had gameplay that took place in a flashback, really. Now, it makes me curious on how we'll start out this game. It seems that either way, you're only going to be playing as either Jason or Lucia initially, because they'll be separated with Lucia being in prison. And what I would say is going to happen is you'll initially start off playing as Jason and the keys, and the sequence that we see of Jason at the beginning of the trailer 2 is going to be kind of the tutorial missions until we go pick up Lucia. But I could be totally wrong about that. And now my question is, if that's the case, then where do the scenes we see of Lucia in prison in the first trailer come into play in the story? And I'd say there's a few options here. Maybe once we arrive at the prison as Jason to pick up Lucia, and a flashback scene initiates that puts us in the prison with Lucia, and we see the scene play out where Lucia is talking to the counselor or caseworker woman in the prison that we see in the first trailer, and that leads up to her being released to Jason, like we see in the second trailer. Or maybe, at that point, or at the very beginning of the game, we were actually playing as Lucia in prison until we eventually switch over and play as Jason. And now, after thinking about it for a bit, I really don't see there being any gameplay as Lucia while she's in prison, because if we do play as Lucia in prison, I would figure it'd be a more tutorial-focused sequence, and I don't really know of any Grand Theft Auto aspects that the game could be teaching you while you're in a more enclosed space where you stay in one room for the majority of the day, in prison. And also, like, activities like fighting, that the game might have you learn would likely be things that would probably keep you in prison and lengthen your sentence. And we see that Lucia gets released in the games. I don't know. And while Lucia is one of our protagonists, seeing her in cutscenes not connected to any gameplay that we take part in would be something that we've never really seen in the franchise. And so, I could be totally wrong about this, but with the prison scenes featuring Lucia, and this scene with the policeman in the room where we don't see either of our protagonists, it makes me think that Rockstar might be changing up how they tell their story in GTA 6. And we might see certain cutscenes attached to the story that either don't feature our protagonist or directly connect to gameplay that takes place in the same setting that certain cutscenes are in, right? If that makes sense. I don't know. Yeah, that's just something I wanted to touch on a bit. Probably a bunch of rambling that anyone who listens to this isn't going to understand at all, but if you did listen, thank you very much. I plan on making some more videos and posting on here, just rambling about the game that I, just like another billion people in the world, am really excited for. So yeah, peace out.